Hello everyone, Apollo Stories here, back with another horror story again. Before continuing this though, if you like my channel and content, then please leave a like and subscribe to it. It keeps me motivated to upload on this channel. Anyways, without further ado, let's begin with our story, shall we? Today's story revolves around a girl. A 6-year-old girl was fascinated and, well, interested in fairies. She loved them, adored them, watched many cartoons, read many books. She loved going to library and asked for books regarding fairies. Her name was Jane Carter. As she lived in a countryside, she visited the town's local library once in a while. As the new stock arrived once a month, it was like any other month that she was going to search for more fairy tales. As she was skipping along the way, smiling and waving at everyone who passed by, who knew her. As she entered the town's library hall, "Hello, librarian. How are you doing, sir?" "Ah, Jane. Good to see you, little lady. Ah, here's your book, sir, that I want to return and, well, retrieve a new one." "Well, get going, little lady. The new batch has arrived, and this time I was sure to tell them to send the best book regarding fairies." "I see." As she got where the new books were kept, it was a giant shelf. As she was strolling around, there were many fairy tales this time. 10 books. She was in for a treat. She wanted to take them all home, but she couldn't. Her mother wouldn't allow. One book at a time. As she was scrolling through, one book caught her interest. It was an old book made out of leather. As she took it out, it tells how fairies live and how to call them, and a spell as well. As her eyes widened after hearing that, she smiled. She could finally meet a fairy. It was her childhood dream, and it will be fulfilled now. As she then grabbed the book and made its way towards the librarian. "Hello, librarian. I will take this book back. Be sure to return it back. Though I wonder, why would you choose that old book? There are so many interesting stories." "Nah, I just found a spell in it. It says how to call fairies." The old man just thought that it was just fairy tale and not a big deal, as he chuckled. "Well, make sure to ask your mother before you use it," he said jokingly as chuckled. "Sure will do," she said as well, as she left and made her way back to her farmhouse, where she lived with her mother. Her father had passed away in a car accident previous year. As she entered the house, her mother, Mary Carter, was there. "Jane, where were you?" "Ah, mother, I was just going to retrieve the book and bought this new one." "I see. What does it read this time, little lady?" Mary knew how Kate was, well, infatuated with fairies. She wanted to become one when she was a little girl, 3 to 4 years of age, but she had grown up. Our princess has grown up. As, well, she said, "Mother, this has a spell in it to, well, call on a fairy, and the librarian said that I should ask you first before do it." "Huh. Be careful, honey. I don't want any fairies here," as she chuckled, "because you're the only fairy in my eyes." As the little girl went to her room and started to read the fairy tales. At the end there was a story, and a spell, how to call them, and a procedure, how to do it. As she followed the procedure, it had to be done for 7 days at the same time. The time was 2 a.m. in the night. Alone in a room, they had a apparatus which was always empty and alone. They never used it. So she went there, Monday night, 2 a.m. And, well, she closed her eyes and said the spell. And after saying it, she opened her eyes, and there was nothing there. She went down and slept. The same procedure went on for 2 days more. Nothing happened. Thursday came. She went up, and when she opened her eyes after finishing the process, she saw a black cat sitting there in front of her, looking at her silently. She was quite surprised how come a black cat was there, but didn't bother with it. She came down and slept again. The next day when she woke up in the night, she did the same thing again. But this time when she opened her eyes, there were 2 black cats. She was getting confused and thought that maybe in the morning she will see where these cats were coming from. She went in the daytime in the attic, but there was no way the cats could come from. She thought that maybe they found a home and their way up there when the attic was opened and just made their home there. She looked for the cats but couldn't find them. She thought that maybe tomorrow she will tell her mother. As the next night when she woke up and went to do the same spell and stuff, this time when she opened her eyes, she was shocked and afraid. The room or attic was filled with cats, sitting silently, just looking at her, their eyes widened. There was so much silence that she was getting scared and dashed out of there and, well, covered her face with her blanket and slept, or tried to. She could hear whispers, a lot of talking near her, in her ears, but she couldn't make it out what it was, no matter how she tried. But the seventh day, she didn't do anything, so the whisper came on and remained there. After the end of the month, she got tired and told her mother what she did and what was going on. Her mother was afraid and showed her to the pastor. The pastor said it was a portal. The book was cursed. The fairies are here. The only way to do it is to perform the seventh day. The girl didn't want to do it, but she did. And this time, a fairy did appear in front of her. A fairy she was too afraid to see at. The fairy was angry at her, that how come she took so long to call her. And after that, the girl apologized. But luckily, the fairy was good enough to let her go with a warning that if she calls her next, she will die. She will take her soul with her as a payment. As the girl was left off the hook, and everything went back to normal, but until she could start hearing whispers again, one of the fairy ghosts remained, and years passed. And it said the fairy ghost remains with her. Till this day, she could still hear whispers, voices, and there's no way she can do anything about it, no matter how many times she shows it to a pastor. He said it will haunt her to her death, because the spirit is angry at her. The fairy is angry. I hope you like this story, guys, because it's a real incident, but a little bit of changes on the name and the whole location and the whole ordeal. So yeah, I hope you like this one, and if you do, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel if you like the content of this channel. I post stories here, and I'm out.